Hey everybody, I'm Mark McNutt, and I'm an astrologer here in Green, Oregon, and we're going to be talking about Gemini times here as the new moon goes into Gemini on the dawn time on June 6th, which is a big anniversary if you're in Europe, I guess, as well. So there's going to be 5 planets in Gemini, and when these talks take place at the new moon, so that's always Sun and Moon in Gemini. Here on the West Coast, Sun and Moon in Gemini will be also rising. It'll be right at dawn. Venus also being in Gemini, and Mercury and Jupiter. So a lot of that Gemini energy, very heady, very changeable, very much about juggling and about being in the moment. So pay attention to the moment that you're in, and pay attention to the moment that you want to be focused on, because it's going to be a kaleidoscope. It already is, and it's going to become one. Now, I know that a lot of you have been posting about a planetary alignment that's going on right now, where in the visible sky, there's basically most of the planets are in a line in the pre-dawn hours. So you can't see it during the daytime, of course. And what's different about that, it's not that there's so many planets in an alignment. It's in lining up in a small amount of visible space. What's different is the sun has moved far enough so that we could see this alignment. If you get up at 4 in the morning or whatever. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not get up that early. But basically, there's, as I mentioned, at the new moon, 5 planets in Gemini, and Uranus in Taurus, and Mars moving into Taurus soon. Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, and then Pluto just all by its lonesome there in Aquarius. So this is very powerful, condensed energy that for the springtime planets and for those born in the springtime, this is a very much a focal point for moving into the future and all that. And a lot of people are asking about this, and even though these aspects have been similar over the last 2 months, they're going to make a visual show which in the eastern horizon and up to the midheaven there. But so it's not a new event, and it's not something new is happening for a limited amount of time. It's the story of the entire springtime. And so many of you probably have questions about that and how to apply it to the chart. With that in mind, and with the fact that the Oregon Country Fair is coming up in mid-July, and I've always had a booth there, over there on Shady Lane. Anyway, people always ask me about readings, and they always want to line up at the Oregon Country Fair. So I'm doing a pre-Oregon Country Fair Gemini special this month, in which you do, if you want to book a half an hour reading, I'm giving a greatly reduced rate so that you can get the overview. So contact me about that. I'd love to serve. Happy to talk about the parade of planets that's going on right now. But let's give you a little bit more info here. So the new moon, time of new beginnings. Gemini, it's already Sun in Gemini, and Gemini is about juggling. It's about duality. The glyph for it is the Roman number 2, which is, I always joke and call it Jim and I, because there is that duality. Typically Gemini people will be like, oh, I really love chocolate ice cream, yeah, I'm really into it, and they'll talk about something like that, and you buy them a chocolate ice cream cone, they'll start going off about the joys of coconut bliss or something like that. So there's always that parade and that flow into the next thing, and that's a big part of what's going on now. So pay attention to the details, but don't get hung up right now, because there's nothing really supporting that. What it's really supporting is the ability to be in the moment, to do diversity. Diversity means two songs, two notes, and so that diversity of now is a theme for the month. And as we started with Sun, Moon, and rising Gemini, Venus is also there too. Sun, Moon, and Venus conjunct at the new moon time, and that means it's a time for social advantage. That there's a lot going on socially. That suddenly, people coming out of the woodwork, people realizing that summer is upon us, even if it's not quite there in this weather in Oregon, and that's why I'm still indoors. But basically, Venus is the planet of love, of relationship, of how we harmonize with other people. So aligning the Sun, Moon, and Venus together so powerfully right now, it's a very exact conjunction. This is like the social life is really going to be a major player in the time to come. And so this isn't the time to hide. This is the time to go to full view, to explore your environment. Gemini is about reaching out into your environment, finding out who's there, finding out who your neighbors are, finding out how you connect, and allowing that to flow. So a lot of exciting good news. Venus always brings an advantage to allowing us to create new relationships, and that's going to be a key theme at this time. Now, another caveat with that is Saturn. Saturn is basically in square with all this stuff. Saturn in Pisces in square with Sun, Moon, and Venus at the new moon. So Saturn is about everything that has gravity to it, has weight. Saturn's kind of doing this hybrid sort of thing being in Pisces, because Saturn in Pisces is sort of like, well, it reminds me of an old song, Other Side of This Life, where it's like, I don't know where I'm going to, I don't know who I'm going to be, and so that Saturn in Pisces kind of dissolves everything into the ethereal. And yet, if you can rectify the being in the moment and take advantage of the social sphere of these planets in Gemini, don't get bogged down by the sorrows of the past, because Saturn in Pisces will be sort of like the sadness of spilled milk or whatever. On the other hand, Saturn in Pisces is about building on new dreams and the opportunities that can happen from that. Saturn in Pisces, I love it. I have a lot of Pisces planets, so it resonates with me really well. I've noticed most people I know who have Saturn in Pisces, they may have a wonderful career and a wonderful life, but they usually say, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, even though they're in their 60s or 30s or whatever. So Saturn in Pisces now gives a sense of the dissolving of old commitments and old ideals and old ways of being. So don't get caught up in the past, because the Saturn's not really the central influence right now. The influence right now is those 5 planets in Gemini. Hey, I talked about 3 of them, Sun, Moon, and Venus. What's the other 2, Mark? Well, I'll tell you. It's Mercury and Jupiter. Mercury zips through the signs, and it's only spending about 3 weeks in Gemini, which is its own home sign, and that's a really stimulating intellectual buzz that's going on right now, moving right into there. And then Mercury and Venus go into Cancer together in the middle of the month, and that will aid to all the stimulation and to the social life and so forth. But right now, at this moment, Mercury is conjunct Jupiter between the 8th and the 13th of June. And so I guess that's not right now, because I'm talking a little early, but next week. So stay tuned for that and take advantage of those unforeseen opportunities that could come forth at that time. Jupiter is going to be in Gemini for a year. Basically, Jupiter, with a few exceptions, like Jupiter in Taurus, it spends a year per sign. So Jupiter's just entered Gemini very recently, a couple of weeks ago, and Jupiter will be in Gemini until next June. And Jupiter is how we find abundance and flow and travel and broaden our horizons. Saturn's how we constrict and commit and ground these opportunities. But Jupiter is how we grow larger in ourselves, and very much has a connection with travel and philosophy and world cultures and things like that. So we can expect a lot more of that under Jupiter and Gemini. Even though Jupiter is in its fall in Gemini, Jupiter will provide a lot of opportunities over the coming year there, and it's going to be a while before it goes retrograde. Jupiter spends 8 months a year going forward or direct, 4 months going retrograde, and that's later in the summer. Draw back to Jupiter and Gemini, and I was born with it. I can tell you firsthand, Jupiter and Gemini likes to juggle a lot and likes to do everything. And so the Jupiter and Gemini characteristic can be about sometimes biting off more than you can chew. So if anything at this time right now, there could be too much abundance. There could be just so many, well, I could do this, I could do that. Well, this person called and then, this thing is available, this opportunity, this whatever. What do I do? It's all so overwhelming. I totally recommend, meditation and finding your grounding. Maybe your grounding is sitting under a tree. Maybe it's talking to your friends. Maybe it's having a practice that you do. Maybe it's just singing a song. But whatever it is for you, remember where your ground is, because I find that you can fly higher with all these air planets, and there's 6 of them right now, that you can fly higher when when you know where you're going to land. So picture a paraglider and picture how you're riding the air currents, and like a bird, you're taking advantage of the thermals that are going on right now and allowing you to flow from here to there and all that. So focus on where you want to go next. Don't lose sight of that, but also avoid being so focused and so linear that you lose the advantage of all the hot air and all the thermals that are going on right now. Because this is a time, there are times when the energy is really locked in and one can only do so much, and that's usually the earth signs, sometimes the water signs. But when you have 6 planets in air, which is the 5 in Gemini plus Pluto in having moved recently into Aquarius, when you have that much energy, it's like take advantage of the air currents. Pluto has been over the last couple of weeks, Pluto has been in trine with Jupiter, and Pluto's been retrograde, Jupiter not. And part of that is the transformations that are going on right now. So if you find your life just rapidly changing and the scenario being reshuffled, particularly over the last 2 weeks or so, that's the Pluto in trine with Jupiter influence, and of course Pluto trine Mercury as well. The retrograde Pluto allows the past to dissolve. And as I mentioned, mostly we're looking at the opportunities moving into the future. There's a lot to that, and it's different for everybody. And what part of the spectrum that you're connecting with strongest has to do with your own horoscope. So, get your reading. And I'm highly available with Jupiter being in its home sign for me, and I'm offering the half-hour version of what I do for a reduced price this month. And I hope that you connect with me at astrowizardry.com and astrowizardry at Gmail. I also initiated this month by having a new cell phone, and that number will be listed in various places, and I can finally receive text calls. It's one of the I'm EMF sensitive, so I tend to not not indulge my I'm not cell phone obsessed, so but you can send me a text now to initiate that reading, or you can call me up and we'll talk about it. Different for everyone, so be aware of the kaleidoscope and the reshuffling of now and the opportunities that are coming your way. And we'll be talking soon. And I'll also see some of you at the Oregon Country Fair. Always stop by and say hi. Love to connect with people, and wishing you all well here. Happy new moon in Gemini.